In Oyo Empire lived a young man named Adisa. His dark skin was a symbol of his rich heritage, and the tribal marks on his cheeks told the story of his ancestors, warriors, and leaders who had shaped the history of the Oyo Empire. The marks were a badge of honor, but in Adisa's life, they would become both a blessing and a curse. During the 14th century in West Africa, tribal marks practice was predominantly popular. It was a way of identification. Some had it as a spiritual protection, while others saw it as beauty. Family members from the same village would give each other marks on the cheeks for identification and recognize each other if they were captured and taken to a foreign land unwillingly. Adisa was a very brilliant boy who took his education serious, and being the only male child of his family, never joked with his books. He excelled in his studies despite the hardships he faced due to his family's poverty. His mother, a widow, worked tirelessly to support him, knowing that education was his only way out of their difficult circumstances. One day, Adisa's hard work paid off when he received a scholarship to study in the United Kingdom. It was a dream come true, but it also meant leaving behind everything he knew and venturing into an unfamiliar world. Adisa arrived in the UK with excitement and hope, but he was soon confronted by the harsh realities of being different. His dark complexion and tribal marks made him stand out, and he quickly became the target by some of the students in his school. They teased him, calling him names and making fun of his appearance. The marks that were revered in his homeland were now a source of ridicule. He would often run out of classes in tears. Nobody would talk to him. He was lonely and missed his mother and family greatly. He will often send letters to the village headmaster, who would read it out to his family, always a mixture of good and sad feelings. Adisa's confidence began to waver. He felt isolated, misunderstood, and longed for the familiar comfort of his village. But he was determined not to let the break his spirit. He consulted with his friend Mufu. Mufu, you've been staring at that mirror for a while now. What is on your mind, brother? Adisa said, it is these marks, Mufu. Back home, they meant something. Strength, heritage, pride. But here, they are just a target for ridicule. The Mufu nodded. I understand. I've heard the whispers too. They don't get it. They don't understand the weight of our history, the significance of these marks. To them, it is just something different, something to mock. You can't let them win, Adisa. You face tougher challenges than this. Remember, we come from a land of warriors, kings, and queens. These marks aren't just curses. They are stories. Maybe it is time you give them a story they will never forget. Adisa curiously said, what do you mean? A story? Mufu, how about this? You tell them that these marks aren't just tribal. They are battle scars. Scars from a fight with a lion. Adisa laughed. A lion? Mufu, no one's gonna believe that. Mufu, oh, they will. Think about it. To them, Africa is this wild, mysterious place full of danger and adventure. You play into that image and they will eat it up. But that is a lie, Mufu said. Exactly. You tell them how the lion terrorized your village and how you stood up to it and how after a fierce struggle you killed it. These marks are the proof of your bravery, Adisa said. And you think they will buy it? Mufu, with confidence. Trust me, once they hear the story, they will look at you differently. It is all about the narrative, Adisa. You control the story. You control the perception. Adisa felt a sense of relief. He will confront them with the story. The next time the student approached him about his tribal marks, Adisa stood tall and told them a story that left them in awe. These marks, he began, are not just any marks. They are the result of a battle with a ferocious lion in the forest of my homeland. The lion attacked my village and I was the only one brave enough to face it. We fought for hours, and though I was just a boy, I managed to kill the lion, but not before it left the scars on my face as a reminder of my courage. The students were stunned into silence. They had never heard such a story before, and they couldn't help but admire Adisa's bravery. From that day on, the teasing stopped, and Adisa Adisa became somewhat of a legend among the students. However, Adisa's challenges in the UK were far from over. Adisa missed his native food. He remembered the first meal he was served at the school cafeteria: 2 slices of bread, meat and some leaves, that is salad. Adisa stared at the salad in disbelief. He approached the cafeteria lady. "Ma, these vegetables are not cooked. Please, could you cook them for me?" said Adisa politely. The woman looked at him. "This is called vegetable salad. If you don't want, you can throw it inside the dustbin." And she walked away rudely. Adisa was upset, walked away grumbling. How can I eat raw vegetables when I'm not a goat? He was accustomed to the rich flavors of traditional dishes like pounded yam and egusi soup. But in the UK, he struggled to find ingredients, and the unfamiliar taste of local cuisine left him longing for the comfort of home. Each meal became a battle for him. But the challenges did not stop at food. One rainy afternoon, as Adisa walked home from school, he was jolted by an unexpected and humiliating experience. A car sped fast, and in an instant, dirty water from a puddle splashed all over him. His neatly ironed clothes were drenched, and the laughter from the car echoed in his ears. Adisa stood there, cold and humiliated, realizing that this was more than just an accident. It was a painful reminder that he was seen as different, an outsider. The most heart-wrenching challenges came in the form of isolation. The cultural gap between him and his classmates was vast. They didn't understand his tribal marks, a proud symbol of his heritage, and often mocked him for it. Adisa felt like he was losing himself, battling against the tide of loneliness in a world that seemed determined to push him to the fringes. Adisa's journey was a testament of resilience, a story that resonates with anyone who has ever felt out of place in a new world. His struggles remind us of the strength it takes to hold on to one's identity in the face of overwhelming odds. The academic system was vastly different from what he was used to, and he struggled to keep up with the coursework. The teaching methods were unfamiliar, and the pressure to succeed was immense. He spent long nights in the library, poring over books and trying to make sense of the material. Despite his best effort, Adisa found himself falling behind. His professors noticed his struggle, and some were sympathetic, while others doubted his abilities. One professor in particular seemed determined to see him fail. Dr. Wainwright, an old-fashioned man with little patience for students who didn't meet his exacting standards, often singled Adisa out in class, questioning his knowledge and making him feel even more alienated. Feeling overwhelmed, Adisa considered giving up and returning home. But then he remembered the story he had told the students, the story of fighting a lion. While it was a fabrication, it reminded him of the real battles his ancestors had fought and the strength they had passed down to him. He resolved to face his challenges with the same courage. Adisa sought help from his professors, including Dr. Wainwright, who, despite his harshness, respected Adisa's determination. He also joined a study group where he found support and encouragement from his peers. Slowly but surely, Adisa began to improve. He learned to navigate the academic challenges and found his footing. But the cultural differences continued to pose a challenge. Adisa found it difficult to connect with his classmates outside of academics. They didn't understand his background, and he often felt left out of social gathering. Loneliness began to creep in. He missed the warmth and community of his village. One day, Adisa was invited to speak at a cultural event organized by the university. Nervous but determined, he decided to share the story of his tribal marks and the history of Oyo Empire. He spoke of his ancestors, the significance of the marks, and the rich culture he came from. Today, Adisa said, we gather to celebrate the rich heritage of my ancestors, the proud people of the Oyo Empire. At the center of this great empire was the Alaafin, the supreme ruler, whose wisdom and authority guided our people through centuries of triumph and challenge. The Alaafin was not just a king, but a father to the nation. His palace, a symbol of peace, was the meeting place for the finest minds and the bravest souls, where decisions that formed our history were made. The Bata more than a dance, was a sacred expression of our connection to the divine. Our ancestors moved to the rhythm of the talking drums, their steps telling stories of the battles won, of ancestors honored, and the unbreakable bond between the people. Our warriors, the fearless Esho, were the protectors of the empire. Clad in armor and adorned with amulets, they marched into battle with courage, never looking back, and always fighting to win more territories. Their loyalty to the Alaafin and to the people of Oyo was unyielding. These warriors were not just soldiers, they were the embodiment of our strength and the determination to defend what was ours. I stand here today to remember that the spirit of Oyo lives on. Its legacy continues in the traditions, values, and the stories we pass down to our children. We are the living testament to a proud heritage, one that has endured through the ages. So, I honor my ancestors by keeping their legacy alive. I dance the battle with pride. I remember the bravery of our warriors, and I uphold the wisdom of the Alaafin and the Oyomesi. For in doing so, I keep the spirit of Oyo alive, not just in my heart, but in the world around us. Thank you. His speech met with silence at first, but then the audience erupted in applause. They were captivated by his story and impressed by his pride in his heritage. Adisa's authenticity struck hard with many students, who began to see him in a new light. He was no longer just a boy with a strange marks, but a person with a fascinating history and a unique perspective. This event marked a turning point for Adisa. He began to find his place within the university community, making friends who valued him for who he was. His confidence grew, and so did his academic performance. He even managed to win over Dr. Winwright, who became one of his strongest supporters. Adisa's time in the UK was filled with challenges, but it was also a journey of growth and self-discovery. He learned that true courage isn't just about fighting lions, real or imagined, but about facing the difficulties life throws at you with determination and pride in who you are. When Adisa eventually returned to his village, he was no longer the same young man who had left. He carried with him not just the knowledge he had gained, but the confidence that came from overcoming adversity. The tribal marks on his cheeks had become more than just a sign of his heritage. They were a testament of his resilience and the mark of a true warrior.